Hello everybody, Ben the Pat Tester here. Hope you're doing well. This video tonight or today or wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, is mainly aimed at DJs or for those with audio visual equipment, singers, people like that. I've seen a lot of chit chat in groups recently about what is a pat test, how often does it need to be done, does it have to be done, with varying comments, responses. And as a pat tester and owner of an audio-visual company, I thought I'd just do a quick video just to perhaps dispel any myths or clear up any confusion over, do you need to get pat testing done, how often, when, and this video is not aimed at kind of embarrassing anybody or kind of humiliating anybody. It's just my opinion on what pat testing is as a pat testing business owner, who happens also to own some equipment that you guys are probably using every day. So what is pat testing? Well, pat testing is basically yes, to give you little stickers like this on your equipment, but effectively what it does is, as pat testers, we are ensuring that your equipment is still as safe to use as the day you bought it. And that's effectively all it is. You leave us to do the necessary checks and things to prove why that is still the case. Some people say, oh, well, you don't need to get pat testing done, it's just like an MOT, it's only valid on the day it's done, and blah blah. Well, yeah, that is true to a certain extent, but again, with an MOT, you get it done the next day, you could drive over a pothole and smack something underneath and break something, and your car would then fail an MOT. But the purpose of a pat test is just to ensure that you've done your due diligence, you've done your checks, to show that your equipment that you're using is still safe. You'll get some nice little labels on here, or you should do anywhere. And that's the first question that comes up that I've seen recently is, does an appliance that has a detachable cable like this, a kettle lead, do you test it as one whole thing, or does that class as two tests? And the answer is, it will class as two tests. So the pat tester will come along, he'll use his test cable to pat test your particular light, so there's a quad phase there, and then he will do a test on the IEC cable and apply a separate label. That does class as two tests, and the reason being is you've probably got a shed load of these IEC cables somewhere in a box, and you might use a different cable every time around for your lights, or you may use the same cable around. But it's important, these are classed as two separate electrical appliances, so you have to treat them and test them as two separate electrical appliances. The other question that comes up regularly is, do I kind of have to have it done every 12 months or every 6 months or every 2 years? And recently the guidance, it's not law, it's pat testing, or as it's called, EET testing now, but for argument's sake we'll call it pat testing at the moment, but some people will say, oh, it's not called pat testing anymore and you have to call it this. Just for argument's sake, we'll call it pat testing because that's its most common name. Does it have to be done every 12 months, every 6 months? Well, now the onus is on you guys and girls as the duty holder. So for argument's sake, a venue will ask for your paperwork, to see your paperwork for pat testing, proof of testing, and normally they will want to see it within a 12-month period. But for example, I did this one, April 2022. I don't know when I did this, Kinto. Same date over there. This one I did, January 2022. Now, it all comes down to how much you use your kit, and it's all done on a risk basis. The norm was normally 12 months, but if you're a heavy user of equipment, if this is going out 4 or 5 times a week, every week, 52 weeks of the year, there may be an argument to say, well, you need to test it more often. But if you're a part-time DJ, you're going out maybe once, twice a week, 12 months to have a formal pat test done is not an issue. Again, what you should be doing every time you go out is just checking the cables for signs of damage, checking your plugs for sign of damage at the entry and exit points. There is a common place. Check there's no cracks or exposed wiring on your appliances and things like that. So you can be doing that and keeping a record of that, on a weekly or a monthly basis even. Just make a record of it, a little diary or something, just to say that you've checked it. The reason pat testing is so important is a lot of people think, well, it's just a tick box just to satisfy a venue. But ultimately, the person it's protecting is you as the DJ. Ultimately, you're the person that's going to be handling this kit, whether it's plugged in or not. But you're most likely going to be the person touching kit, plugging in extension leads, unplugging them. Amount of times we unplug an extension lead or plug it in with the switch still on at the wall, with the light still on, we unplug it. And heaven forbid there was ever an issue with your appliance or anything, but you're the person most likely to get an electric shock if you're handling those things. So ultimately, as a DJ, it's protecting you mostly, that your kit is safe. And of course, obviously, the public and the people at the party or the wedding and the kids, they always come up and touch your lights and things like that. It happens all the time. So to make sure your kit's safe. So yes, you test all your kettle leads. If you've got any kettle lead extensions, they need to be tested as well. All of your appliances. So you've got lights there. We've got another disco light here, extension lead that we've got here, so all your extension leads will need to be done. And make sure your pat tester is checking all the plugs as well, including opening them up and tightening all the terminals inside and the cable grip on there, as well as checking the whole cable. And for example, on these particular extension leads, these are rewirable sockets as well, so they should really be opening up these and checking the terminals inside. But if you've got just standard cable reels or white extension leads, you can't do that on those. But at the very minimum, they should be doing opening the plugs and doing a visual inspection of the cable before they test it. RCDs is another thing. I always recommend using RCDs on equipment. If you're using any disco equipment outside under a marquee or out on a terrace somewhere, you must always use an RCD outside. The venue electrics may have one in place, but always carry a couple of these, about a tenner from Screwfix. Highly recommend that. And then things like this mixer here, a lot of you got this mixer. Now this runs off an adapter, you can see there, which is one of these adapters. So the adapter will need to be tested, but you can see the output on that is super low voltage on that, 18 volt. So there's no pat test you can do physically on the mixer, but the adapter will still need to be tested as well. And then of course you've got speakers as well up here. So you've got my trusty Mackie Thump. I know a lot of you love these, a lot of you hate them. I really love them. They're great, they're reliable, 6 years old, but hey, that's another story altogether. But yeah, you would get your pat tester to test this item here and get that item tested as well. Do you need to test things like your microphone cables or your XLR cables? No, you don't. These are purely signal cables. They're not carrying any electrical voltage or current, so you don't need to test things like that. One thing to watch out for, if you buy anything from China or import or AliExpress or things that a lot of us tend to do, if you see a plug like this, don't use it. They are death traps. They're not fused. They're not up to British standards. They are, you can see the size of the plug, they're tiny. You could get your fingers in the pins when you're plugging it in, get all sorts of nasty shocks, and they are dangerous. So please don't use them. This one particularly is off of an adapter that came, and it's just an adapter like that, a figure of 8 cable as we call it. So yeah, don't use that. Buy yourself a proper one off a CPC or somewhere like that from a UK seller. So I hope that helps you out. Pat testing, it's not a legal requirement. as such, but it is a legal requirement to keep your electrical appliances tested to check that they are still safe as the day you bought them. Remember that, it's very important. So it's not a legal requirement to have pat testing done, but pat testing is seen as the most effective way of testing your appliances to prove both to yourself as a business owner that you're taking equipment out that is safe. You're proving to a venue that you've had the testing done, so you're proving to them that your equipment is safe, and also it gives you peace of mind from people that will be coming into your contact with your equipment, like people, guests at the party, children, that your equipment's safe and as safe as it possibly can be at the time. So I hope that helps you out. My name's Ben the Pat Tester. The channel is Caterham Pat Testing. Please do like and subscribe. There's loads of videos on there already, various audio visual ones and things just about pat testing, but I thought I'd do this one just for mobile DJs, just to kind of run through some of the kind of more popular equipment that you would use. And yeah, so I hope that helps, and I will see you next time.